Around 850 BC, Starcar, North Yorkshire. Rain falls across a lakeside camp while people pull wet hides over a timber frame. The ground is soft. Smoke hangs low beneath the shelter roof. A week of rain does not stop life. It changes the order of work. For ancient humans, long rain was not just weather. It was a problem of heat, food, movement, and time. Hunter-gatherer groups had to protect fire first, because fire turned wet days into survivable days. Archaeologists have found hearths inside shelters, under rock overhangs, and near windbreaks made from brush, bone, hide, or timber. A fire had to be fed with dry material. This meant people saved bark, grasses, resin-rich wood, and dead branches from sheltered places. If the rain continued, embers could be buried under ash and carried forward instead of being started again from nothing. Then shelter became the center of the camp. At sites across Ice Age Europe and later Mesolithic Britain, post holes, stone rings, and preserved floor areas suggest temporary structures that could be repaired as conditions changed. Hides could be tightened, branches could be added, wet bedding could be lifted from the ground on brush or mats. In caves and rock shelters, people moved closer to dry walls, away from dripping entrances and runoff channels. The best shelter was not always the deepest cave. It was the place where smoke could escape and rainwater could not pool. Food shaped the next decisions. Heavy rain made tracking harder in some places and easier in others. Mud preserved fresh prints. Swollen streams concentrated animals at crossings, but storms could also make travel dangerous. Because of this, people likely stayed closer to camp when rain lasted for days. They repaired hunting gear, scraped hides, sharpened stone tools, carved bone points, and checked cords, nets, baskets, and traps. These were not idle tasks. They were the maintenance that kept the next dry day useful. Some food could be gathered in rain. Shellfish, freshwater mussels, snails, roots, nuts, and stored plant foods mattered when hunting was limited. In coastal and river landscapes, wet weather could push people toward predictable resources. Archaeological middens show that shells, fish bones, and plant remains were part of many ancient diets. Rain did not create these strategies. It made them more important. Clothing also demanded attention. Wet clothing steals heat. Ancient people used animal skins, woven fibers, bark materials, and plant cordage in different regions and periods. A hide cloak could shed water for a while, but it had to be dried, softened, and worked by hand. Footwear mattered too. The oldest preserved shoes and sandals show that people understood protection from cold ground, rough stone, and wet surfaces. Around a smoky hearth, wet gear could be turned, scraped, patched, and rubbed with fat or other materials available to the group. Children, elders, and injured people were part of the same weather system. A week of rain changed where people slept, how close they stayed to the fire, and who could travel. It also created time for teaching. A child could learn how to twist fiber into cord. Someone could retouch a flint edge. Someone else could sort useful stones, shells, pigments, feathers, or bone fragments. These small actions rarely looked dramatic in a museum case. In a wet camp, they were the difference between preparation and risk. Rain also changed sound and visibility. A forest and heavy rain hides movement. Footsteps soften, smoke clings to air, rivers rise and erase paths. Ancient humans read these changes closely. They watched water lines, animal trails, wind direction, and the color of clouds. If a camp became unsafe, they moved. If it remained dry enough, they waited. Waiting was not failure. Waiting protected energy. In farming societies, the pattern changed, but the pressure stayed familiar. Neolithic villagers had houses, stored grain, pottery, and livestock. A week of rain could mean repairing roofs, clearing drainage, protecting stored food, tending animals, grinding grain indoors, and making tools beside the hearth. In places with clay walls or thatched roofs, water was a constant test of construction. The house itself became a weather machine. The clearest answer is simple. Ancient humans did not stop living when rain lasted all week. They reorganized life around dryness, warmth, repair, food, and patience. They protected fire. They repaired shelters, they prepared tools, they watched water. They waited for the landscape to open again. The oldest survival skill was staying dry.